Settlers of Catan, or simply Catan as it is commonly known, is a resource management game for 2 to 4 players from Catan Studios. Players will roll dice and collect, trade, or maybe steal resources in order to create the largest settlement and take control of the land. Will you be able to conquer the rolling hills and looming mountains full of brick and ore? Or will you be stuck with just a bunch of sheep? Let's find out in Catan. Take the blue C-frame pieces and connect them together to form the board frame. Each piece has a number on either end. Match the numbers up and connect them together. If you are a beginner, you have the option to use the beginner's setup located in the rules manual, but you can also follow the randomized rules. Shuffle the tiles and lay them out randomly around the board, starting on the outer edge and traveling clockwise or counterclockwise until the board is full. Then take the circular number tokens, or chits, and place them randomly around the board just like you did when you were laying the tiles down. Be sure to skip the desert tile. If you want, you can keep the trade harbors the same, but if you want a more challenging game, take the harbor pieces and randomly distribute them, covering the original harbors. Place the robber piece on the desert. Shuffle the development cards and place them face down near the board, along with the resource cards, longest road, and largest army cards. Each player takes one of the 4 colors of building cost cards and the corresponding color of road settlements and cities. Now you are ready to play. Each player will roll both dice. Whoever rolled the highest will place a settlement first on one of the intersections. Then they'll place a road connected to that settlement on the edges of the hexagonal terrain tiles. That will continue clockwise around the table until everybody has laid down their first settlement and road. When all players have placed their first settlement and road, the last player will then place their second settlement and road. This will continue counterclockwise around the table until all players have placed 2 settlements and 2 roads. Settlements cannot be placed within 2 spaces of each other. For example, I cannot place my settlement here because it is within 2 spaces of my opponent's settlement. However, I can place it here. Once the player's setup phase has been completed, the oldest player will go first by rolling the dice. The number on the dice correspond with the chits located around the board. If any of your settlements or cities are placed on any of the 6 intersections connected to the tile the chit is on, you will gain the resource equal to the number of settlements associated with that tile. If you have a city, you will earn 2 resource cards for every city that you have on that tile. This happens for everyone at the table. If resources are running low, the player who rolled will take the resources first and continue clockwise around the table. Keep your resource cards secret from the rest of the players. The tiles represent different types of land that produce different types of resources. The light green tiles are pastures, which provide wool. The dark green tiles are forests, which provide wood. The mostly yellow tiles are fields, which provide wheat. The reddish tiles are hills, which provide brick. Finally, the gray tiles are mountains, which provide ore. You'll notice that there are no 7 chits on the board. If a 7 is rolled, which is the most commonly rolled number, players will check to see if they have 8 or more resource cards. If they do, they must discard half of them, rounding down. Then, the player that rolled will move the robber to another tile. That tile will no longer produce resources until another 7 has been rolled, or a development card has been played that allows the player to move the robber. If there is an opponent or multiple opponents connected to that tile, choose one of them to steal a random resource from. After rolling, the build phase begins. Your building cost card has the requirements needed to build listed on it, but I will go over them as well. In order to build a road, you need a wood and a brick. To build a settlement, you must have a wood, a brick, a wheat, and a wool. To replace a settlement with a city, you must have 2 wheat and 3 ore. You can also buy a development card for a wheat, a wool, and an ore. You can play development cards anytime during your turn except for the turn that you picked it up on. Development cards can steal resources from opponents, build you roads at no cost, or even give you victory points. If you don't have the resources to build what you need, you have a couple options. You can work out trades with your opponents. This can be for any amount of resources, but watch out for those giving you unfair trades. You can also trade with the bank. Simply put 4 of the same type of resource card back in its respective pile and take 1 resource card of your choice. If you are lucky enough to have built on one of the harbors, that will allow you to trade either 3 of the same resource or 2 of the same resources as listed on the harbor. For example, at this harbor I can trade 3 cards of the same type to the bank for 1 card of my choice, while at this harbor I can trade 2 wool for 1 card of my choice. There is one more way to gain extra victory points. There are 2 special cards that you can earn during the game. Remember those development cards? Some of them are night cards, which allow you to steal a resource from a player by moving the robber to a hex tile that has their settlement or city attached. The first person to reach 3 played night cards receives the largest army special card. This card gives you 2 victory points. The first person to reach 5 consecutive roads built receives the longest road special card. This card also gives you 2 victory points. Watch out though, these cards are not yours permanently. If an opponent plays more night cards or builds a longer road, that card is then transferred to them. You lose the victory points and they gain them. These 2 cards can make or break the game. The first player to reach 10 points during their turn is the winner. If for some reason you reach 10 points when it is not your turn, play continues until a player reaches 10 points on their turn. That person has built the largest settlement and wins the game. And that is Catan. Okay, listen. Before you leave a comment, we understand that it is technically Catan, but we're from West Virginia. We have never heard it pronounced that way. We've always heard it pronounced Catan, so that's what we went with. Okay? Okay, thanks.